Smith from Techstar Property Group and Racetrack.com. We are talking about property tax dispute today. I know everybody got their valuations in the mail, and so it's a little dramatic. They're going up the absolute most that they possibly can. They're allowed to go up 10% a year. I want everybody to just don't panic. It's going to be okay. That does not mean that your mortgage is going to go through the roof or that your tax bill is going to be insane. So we're going to explain a little bit how this works and how the process is, so you have a better understanding going forward how to do this. So calculating your tax bill, obviously, this is a little self-explanatory, but for those that don't know, you take the taxable value of your home, whatever they determine that your market value is. They multiply it by the tax rate that they have set. Right now, ours is like at a 1.7. It's really, really low. And then that's what you're responsible for that year. And that's what they tax you for. So what are exemptions? So we hear a lot about exemptions. Do I have exemptions? Do I qualify for exemptions? Everyone qualifies for a homestead exemption. And if it is your main dwelling, if this is not an investment property, if this is the house that you are living in and is your main domicile, then you qualify for the homestead exemption. What does that do? What that does is that takes 25% of your tax liability away. So if we had a $100,000 house, then we would only get taxed on $75,000 of that, if that makes sense. So there's homestead exemptions. There are military exemptions. There's disabled exemptions. There's over 65 exemptions. You really want to contact a tax professional as far as what you qualify for and what you should be filing for as far as that's concerned. So we're not going to go real in depth into that, but that's what the exemptions are all about. So no, your taxes are not going to skyrocket because your value increased. Now, here's the game that they play, is that they say, okay, well, we're going to value your house in March or April, May, and we're going to determine how much revenue we're going to get off of that based on how your property is valued. And then they set the tax rate like later on in the fall, like around August. So kind of an interesting game that they play there. Our tax rate did, because the values skyrocketed last year, they did bring the tax percentage down. So everybody just relax for a minute, and we're going to figure out how to bring our values down. So, because we can fight this, we can. They give us, their information is not always accurate. A lot of times it's very inaccurate. There's a lot of things that you need to check for, which is what we're going to go over. And I'm going to show you how to hopefully bring this value down. We've been very successful with it. I know the folks that I've helped do this. I don't do this as a service. I just do it as a courtesy to my clients and friends and neighbors. But we can do this. So here's what you get sent. And this is their notice of appraised value. Now, obviously, they say it's not a tax bill. It is not. They're showing you the difference between what they charged you last year and what they're going to charge you this year. First of all, make sure your information is correct up here at the top. I've seen addresses be wrong. If you know your legal description off your closing paperwork, you can check your legal description, make sure that that's correct. And I'll also show you how to look for that. Make note of your online protest ID. If you're not going to physically mail this in, or you're going to the appraisal district to go drop this off yourself, you're going to want to do this online. Make sure that you have this online protest ID written down, because you will need this later. So it shows you last year's value, what they determined that your market value on your home was last year. Then they say that your new proposed value, whether that's up or down. Obviously, it's up for everyone this year. And the other piece of information that you want to really look at is the protest date deadline. This is not a flexible date, y'all. So make sure that you get this done by the 15th. On the back here, a couple of details they break down, what they're taxing you for based on the value. These are the different entities that actually receive the benefits of your tax. These are going to be different for almost every neighborhood. Some may be in a property improvement district, which is called a PID. Some people might be in a MUD. There's some other taxing bodies that might have an interest here, but we're Montgomery County, Conroe ISD, Lone Star College, Emergency Services, obviously, and Montgomery County Hospital are our recipients. So this just right down here at the bottom, not a whole lot of great information here. Just tells you the difference of exemption numbers based on last year. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to mcad.com, or sorry, mcad.org to go search for your property. So the property search here, it's going to pull up this other window for Montgomery County Appraisal District, and you're going to search for your address. Once you find your address, it's going to give you something that looks like this right here. This is where we really want to pay attention to what information they have and what's correct and incorrect, because a lot of this can be incorrect. The proposed value is up here on the top right-hand corner. Now, keep in mind, I did this for the 2022 year, so that all of this was populated, because if you're looking at 2023, it will not show you all of this information because it hasn't been finalized yet. Just for clarification purposes there. So this also shows your current exemptions. You see the exemptions down here. The only one that I qualify is for the homestead. So if you qualify for a military or disability or something like, and it's not there, then we need to make sure that we're filling that out on the form that we're going to go over here in just a minute. So here's our current tax rate is 1.7421. Like I said, they brought it down this last year because the values were crazy and apparently getting crazier. So the square footage of the home. So here's the thing with this is one of the major things you want to pay attention to here is the square footage and obviously your land size as well. Make sure that these are accurate. So why do we need to know that? Well, take an example of my house myself. They say that my house is 2,700 square feet. So according to my builder, it's 2,269. So what happened there? So here's a discrepancy that we found that can help us as far as our valuation concerned. Now, appraisers do not go per price per square foot, but the size of your house drastically determines the value. So what happened here? Well, the problem is they exterior measured this. A lot of times they're not going to go out to your house. They're going to look at the satellite photo of your home and determine whatever your square footage is from there. What's the problem with that? Well, take my house, for example. So I've got a 3-car garage that on the satellite photo is not shown here. That's not livable space. That's not air-conditioned livable space is the way that they determine that. So that's getting added into my square footage that shouldn't been and added to my value. Here's the second part is that we added a nice back porch that you can also not see from the satellite photo that they may be including as livable space, which is not. So all of that's going to bring that square footage down and drastically bring down the quote unquote market value. I hope this is all making sense. There's all kinds of clerical errors that can save you tons of money on your valuation, whether it be your lot size, whether it be your square footage that we just gone over. There may be, you may have a neighbor problem. I mean, let's just be honest. There may be some unsightly things that you feel are bringing the property down, and you can take photos of those and send those in. There's lots of different things. So here's what I want you to remember. Check square footage, check the lot size. And the third thing is then they always get this wrong, is get comps or the neighborhood sold sales record to be able to send into them. Because sometimes they will pick houses that are a mile away and not even in your neighborhood and call them a comparable sale. Here's the problem is Texas is a non-disclosure state. What does this mean? So the sales price of real property is not recorded or made available through a public record, which sometimes it is through other states. So that means that the county offices are prohibited from disclosing that information to the general public. So that's where your favorite broker or real estate agent can come in and actually provide you with that information and see what the real story is on your particular neighborhood. So let's take, for example, so this is comparable sales for my house, from my neighborhood, based on um, what has sold in the last year. Because comps are sales of homes near you, preferably in your specific neighborhood. I don't like to go outside of the neighborhood to get comps because I don't feel like that's a true comparable sale. It needs to be, the same, hopefully the same builders, this, roughly the same year. Obviously, this provides us with an accurate gauge of what is considered the market value. The property characteristics need to be very similar. So 3 bed, 2 bath. If you're a bedroom off or a bath off, um, is that a deal killer? No, it's not, but you want it to be as close to yours as possible. So once we've determined that there's an error, how do we communicate that? How do we let the county know what's going on? So in your envelope that you got your appraisal in, you should have gotten a protest form. So this is the paper protest form that I got. Again, go back and make sure that all of this information is correct. Make sure that the tax ID number and the identification number are all matching what you got on your appraised value. Make sure that the address is correct, the name, and also it'll tell you section 1 right here, whether you're disabled or a military service member. All of this stuff needs to be filled in and accurate. Make sure all those exemptions that you apply for, because that brings down your value greatly, especially if you're over 65, because then they actually freeze that value. So once you have that value in place, they can't increase it anymore after you turn 65. So that's a big deal. Check all the boxes that apply. Down here in section 2, make sure the information is correct. So our reasons for protest. This is what we're telling the county. Hey, this is what's going on. So in our case, we are incorrect appraised market value is the first one. And then the second one is the property description is incorrect, which means that our square footage is wrong. Yours may be different from this, but make sure that you're checking everything that applies and getting as much of that as you can. And then don't forget at the bottom of the page to put your comp sales, whatever you got from your CMA or your market analysis from your real estate agent. Make sure that you're putting that in there, and also providing whatever evidence that you're presenting, whether it be the CMA, the builder floor plan, which we have here, disputing the square footage. All of your evidence needs to be listed there at the bottom of the page. So the next thing is they want to know, there's a lot of options on how you can go about your hearing. What typically happens is that when you turn this protest in, they will contact you and say, hey, we think it's worth X amount of dollars. Can we go ahead and come to an agreement right now? And based on that value, you can say yes or no. If you want a formal hearing, you can have a formal hearing in front of a board. Typically, it's one person to start with. And if that doesn't come into fruition, then you can do it in front of a whole panel of appraisers if you want to take it that far. But make sure you determine what you want to do. So on here, I'm saying I'd rather have an informal conference with an appraisal before the protest hearing to determine, see if we can come to an agreement so we can just call it a day. But if it does come down to it, I want to have a meeting in person. I want to be able to sit down in front of a human and plead my case here. So how do you want to receive notifications? I definitely always, do you request a copy of the district's hearing evidence? Absolutely. I want to know exactly how they're getting to their determination, so I can dispute it in the correct way. You can do first class mail. You can do certified mail. You have to actually pay some cost for certified mail, or you can have it emailed to you. And don't forget to sign this. A lot of people protest and they forget to sign it, so it's not an actual protest until you sign it and say that this is what you're wanting to do. So a couple things here. You can actually do this online. So you can go to Montgomery County Appraisal District, go to ARB right here. Again, remember, we were talking about your protest ID. That is on your appraised value. You're going to need that to be able to do this online. So you don't have to physically take it in. It's the exact same form, exactly what we just went over, just easier to do it online. If you've never done it before, if I'm not mistaken, you have to do your first one in person, but I don't know that 100% sure. But you can do this online. And literally, that's it, y'all. That's it. That's all that it takes to protest this and get it done. If you have some specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Either call me or text me. Text me is the best way to get a hold of me, or you can email me here at the email address on the screen. Yo, why do I do this? So, first of all, the more of us that do this, the better chances that the rest of us are going to be successful. Um, and I just want to help. I just want to honestly just want to help out. Now, none of us succeed alone, and we were meant to help each other. And I love this neighborhood, and I really feel like we do really, really well as a community. And I think the more of us that do this, the more they're going to say, "Oh man, they're not playing around, and they know their stuff, and we're educated on this, so it helps us all." So feel free to reach out to me. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it, and we will see you on the next one.